This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. So let's settle back comfortably and listen, and while you're getting settled, I'd like to know if you like seafood. And by seafood, I mean everything from broiled lobster to fried halibut. Because if you like seafood, any seafood, you'll love it together with Petri California Sauterne. Fish and Petri Sauterne were made for each other. No kidding. Boy, I'll never in my life forget a broiled brook trout on the plate in front of me and a glass of well-chilled Petri Sauterne right next to it. That fish and that Sauterne. Petri Sauterne has a pale golden color that's really good to look at. And as for taste, well, that Petri flavor is really something. Take my word for it and try it, won't you? Oh, and I'll tell you something else. Try that Petri Sauterne with chicken sometime. Look, I better stop before I get hungry all over again, but just remember this. The best friend a good meal ever had is a glass of Petri wine. And now let's keep our appointment with the good Dr. Watson.
Good.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Come over here and join me by the fire.
I didn't think it was cold enough for a fire tonight, Doctor.
Oh, I suppose it isn't really, but there was one late, so I just couldn't resist putting a match to it.
Fire's a good accompaniment to storytelling anyway.
Yes, my boy, a fire and a glass of port. Care to join me in one?
Thanks, Doctor. So, you're going to tell us a sea story tonight?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. The whole adventure took place aboard a small steamer as it plowed through the stormy seas of the Indian Ocean. Here's your glass, my boy.
Thanks. And what were you and the great Sherlock Holmes doing on the Indian Ocean, may I ask?
We're on our way to Calcutta to solve the case of the vanishing elephant of Parbutipur.
Oh, yes, the story you told us a few weeks ago.
That's quite right, my boy. It's in the summer of 1894 that we left Liverpool aboard the steamship Lucifer. It wasn't a large ship, and as both the Mediterranean and the Red Sea proved somewhat, shall we say, unfriendly, I may tell you the first part of the voyage was quite unpleasant. In fact, until we left Aden, I'd spent most of the time in my cabin. I'm not much of a sailor, you know. However, as we headed eastward towards Colombo, the weather cleared up a bit, and I came on deck and joined Holmes. I remember on the second night out of Aden, we paced the decks together. The stars above us twinkled, the promise of a bright tomorrow, and the faint tinkle of a piano being played in the passenger lounge formed a perfect setting for an evening stroll. It only seems like yesterday that Holmes said...
Watson, it's good to see you on your feet again.
Yes, it's good to be on 'em, Holmes. It's been a miserable trip for me so far.
The captain told me tonight that we can expect good weather between here and Kavarati, our next port of call.
I thought Colombo was the next stop. And where is Kavarati, whatever you call it? Anyway, I never heard of the place.
It's a tiny island in the Indian Ocean. It's a British protectorate. Those are the only facts I was able to glean from the encyclopedia and the ship's library.
Did you ask the captain why we're stopping there?
No, I didn't. As we're traveling incognito, I felt it wiser not to ask too many questions.
I find this incognito business something of a strain. Every time a steward calls me Mr. Hamish, I can't think who on earth he's talking to.
Whereas I find myself answering to Mr. Mycroft almost automatically. By the way, old chap, now that you're going to mix with the ship's passengers, I suggest that you adopt a Scotch accent. It would seem more appropriate for a Mr. Hamish, and I don't want anyone aboard to suspect our true identities.
Oh, I'll do my best, but I must say, Holmes, I think you're being unnecessarily mysterious.
Possibly I've been influenced by reading too many of your rather florid stories of our adventures together.
My stories are not florid. They're all perfectly true.
Oh, don't be angry with me, old chap. Don't be angry, please. By the way, you'll be interested to know that I've unearthed a little mystery aboard this boat.
I trust you to do that. Where is she? I mean, what is it?
Oh, you observe that suite of cabins on the bridge deck above us?
Yeah? What about them?
Well, I've been watching them during my nightly strolls for the past 2 weeks. The suite is occupied, and yet the blinds are never raised. And I've never seen meals taken in there. I presume, therefore, that it must contain a private galley and a cook.
I don't see anything mysterious about that. It's probably occupied by some wealthy invalid.
Oh, possibly. Another interesting fact is that the occupants are not entered on the ship's passenger list.
It all sounds very mysterious. There's probably a perfectly simple explanation for it. In any case, you must save your energies for the problem that awaits us in India. You're Mr. Mycroft now, remember that.
I will, Mr. Hamish.
Mr. Mycroft?
Yes, Mr. Hamish?
Would you care to join me for a wee drop of brandy in the smoking room?
Mr. Hamish, I shall be delighted.
This is excellent brandy. Excellent.
Watson, you notice that rather garrulous gentleman over there in the corner?
You mean the one at the table with the oriental-looking fella?
Yes, the talkative man is the ship's doctor, but I haven't seen the other gentleman before on this voyage.
I wonder if he's an occupant of the mysterious suite on the bridge deck.
Let's go over and talk to him, shall we? And remember the accent, Mr. Hamish.
And so, Verda, when we landed at Colombo, I decided to take Mrs. Abbott for a moonlight rickshaw drive through the cinnamon gardens. Did you gentlemen want to see me?
If you'll excuse us, Dr. Harris, my friend Mr. Hamish and I were having a little argument, and we thought that perhaps you might be able to settle it for
An
us.
argument? Oh, I love a good argument. Sit down, gentlemen. This is Mr. Verda.
How do you do, gentlemen?
Good evening, sir. My name is Hamish, and this is my friend, Mr. Mycroft.
I'm so happy to meet you, gentlemen.
Now, how do you know, Mr. Verda?
Now, gentlemen, tell me what you're arguing about.
Well,
I love
Doctor,
a good argument.
You see, it wasn't exactly an argument. My friend Mr. Hamish insists that the Suez Canal was built by a Dutchman in 1870. I'm convinced that it was built by de Lesseps, a Frenchman, in 1869. We thought you'd know.
You flatter me. I'm only a ship's doctor, not an historian. Ask Verdi. He probably knows.
Can you settle the question for us, sir?
I can, Mr. Mycroft. You are almost correct. The canal was opened in 1869, though its construction began 10 years previously. De Lesseps, a French engineer, was in charge of the operation. There is a statue of him in Port Said Harbor, built to commemorate his skill and enterprise.
Much obliged to you, Mr. Vera. Hamish, I think that I win my bet.
Aye, Mycroft, I'm afraid you do, if you're sure of your facts, Mr. Werner.
I'm sufficiently sure of them, Mr. Hamish, to venture a small wager myself.
No. I think I'll not make any more bets on the subject, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, if you will excuse me, I shall return to my cabin now.
Oh, don't go.
No,
Verdi.
don't go, sir. You'll make us feel as if we'd driven you away.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Hamish. I enjoyed meeting you both, but I have some letters to write. Good evening, gentlemen.
He's a charming person.
Charming and extremely knowledgeable.
Bit of a bore, if you ask me. You two fellas enjoyed your trip?
I'm just beginning to. It takes a little time to get my sea legs, you know.
Dr. Harris, how long have you been on this ship?
4 years. This is my 23rd trip east on the Lucifer. Why?
Well, there's something that puzzles me on board this ship. I'm assured that you would explain it to me.
And what is it?
Well, the suite of cabins on the bridge deck, who occupies them?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I don't know we would, and that's why my friend asked you.
Well, I'll tell you. Though it's supposed to be a secret. But there'll be no harm in telling you now, for we're dropping anchor off the island of Kavarati in the morning. In that suite of rooms is the Ranee of Kavarati herself. She has her own staff of servants and everything. What do you think of that?
Oh, how very interesting. And is the Oriental gentleman who left the table when we arrived part of our entourage?
He is, sir. He's the sort of Prime Minister of Kavarati. This whole trip of theirs is very hush-hush. Ranee returning to her country, afraid someone might make an attack on her life. Have to keep it all hush-hush. Kavarati is an island that's had a lot of trouble.
You seem to be remarkably well informed about the place, sir.
Yeah, should be. I used to practice there in my younger days.
Well, really, how very interesting.
Yes, I could tell you strange tales about the island. I remember... Oh, hello. See that fella coming into the lounge?
You mean the big man with the grey hair?
Yes. That's Sir Christopher Wyatt. Owns all the tea plantations on Kavarati. He's a dull fella, but I'll call him over. Wyatt, come over and join us. Be careful. He'll talk your head off if you give him half a chance. Draw up a chair, Wyatt. We were just talking about Kavarati.
It seems to me that would be a good subject to keep away from. At least till after tomorrow, Harris.
What do you mean?
You know perfectly well what I mean. I should have thought that after your own experience on Kavarati, you would have learned a little discretion.
You're talking like a schoolmaster, Wyatt. Why don't you sit down, have a drink, and be friendly?
Thank you. I prefer my own company.
Pompous ass.
You and Sir Christopher don't seem on the best of terms, Doctor.
I know too much about him. He's afraid of me. That's what he is.
Look at this girl coming into the room. Great Scott, she's good looking.
Judging by our oriental costume, she must be a member of the Ranee's retinue.
She's coming to our table. Yes, my dear. What is it?
Which of you gentlemen is Mr. Mycroft, please?
I am.
My mistress sends her compliments and asks that you will call on her in her suite.
And who is your mistress, may I ask?
Her Highness, the Ranee of Kavarati.
Oh, I shall be delighted. Please tell the Ranee that I shall pay my respects without delay. We will join her in a few minutes.
Very well, Mr. Mycroft.
You know, Holmes, this is pretty exciting. The girl that just brought us the message was a stunning creature. Imagine what the Ranee herself must be like.
Oh, what an incurable romanticist you are, Watson. I suppose you picture the Ranee clad in oriental splendor, reclining like an odalisque on silken cushions.
No, there's no need to make fun of me, old fellow.
Here we are at the cabin.
Ah, it is you, gentlemen. Follow me, please.
Come in.
Her Highness, the Ranee of Kavarati.
All right, Regina, you can off it.
Yes, Your Highness.
Well, me lads, don't look so startled. Come in and sit down.
Your Highness,
What's the matter? What's the matter? Don't I fit into your picture of a Ranee? What did you expect? A slant-eyed beauty with a veil and big hips? Well, I've got the big hips, all right.
Your Highness...
never mind, Your Highness. Sit yourselves down and talk free and easy like. I may as well begin by telling you that I know who you both are. Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Dear me.
Oh, I've seen you in the good old days in London, you know.
May I ask if our visit is purely a social one, or are you in need of professional advice?
Oh, a little of both, Mr. Holmes, a little of both. And we'll start off with being social. Ruma.
Mem Sahib.
Champagne.
Botachi, Mem Sahib.
if you'll pardon my asking you, madam, but I've never seen you before, somewhere.
Oh, that's a question I'm always having to answer. Yes, you probably have, Dr. Watson. You see, I was in the chorus at Daly's Theatre in London for quite a few years, until the Raja of Kavarati decided I'd look better on his island than I did in front of the footlights.
Your husband, the Raja, is dead, isn't he?
Yes, he was killed playing polo.
Champagne, Mem Sahib.
Caller. Champagne Pinasector.
Acha.
He doesn't speak English, so I'll get along with telling you my troubles. Mr. Holmes, somebody's trying to kill me.
Kill you? Good Scott.
May I ask what reason you have for saying that, madam?
You may, Mr. Holmes. Before I left England, I had threatening letters warning me that if I ever went back to Kavarati, I'd never get to the island alive. I got another letter in Port Said that said the same thing.
You kept these letters, I trust?
No, I didn't. I tore them up. I never did pay attention to letters that weren't signed.
Well, that's a great pity, madam. Those letters might have been invaluable.
Well, it's too late to think about that now, Dr. Watson. Here's what's on my mind. I land at Kavarati in the morning, and if anyone's up to a bit of no good, tonight's their last chance.
You destroyed the threatening letters, madam, thereby indicating that you did not believe in the threats, and yet you now appear to feel that you are in danger. I wonder what made you change your mind.
The Ace of Spades.
Yes? I don't understand you, madam.
In the last 2 days, every time I tell my fortune, I get the Ace of Spades. Now, you know what that means. Death.
Oh, come now, madam. If you'll pardon my saying so, that's a very childish superstition.
Well, the cards have never lied to me yet. Oh, you can laugh at it if you like, but I know.
Well, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Anything you like, Mr. Holmes, fire away.
How long is it since you were in Kavarati?
About 18 months. We were in England when my husband died, and I couldn't face the idea of going back to that island alone. 3 months ago, Verda... Oh, he's the chief minister of Kavarati.
Yes, madam. We met him for a moment in the lounge.
Oh,
Not long ago.
Verda came over to England to persuade me it was my duty as the Ranee to go back.
I see. As far as you know, have you any enemies among the passengers on board the ship?
Oh, that's an odd one to answer, Mr. Holmes. But I can tell you right here in my suite there's someone who doesn't like me. That girl Raduna, the one that brought you my message. She was in love with the Raja herself. I know she hates me, even though she did stay with me in England after my husband died.
How about Ferda, your minister?
Oh, he's all right. My husband thought the world of him, and he's been wonderful to me.
He came from Kavarati recently, you say, to persuade you to return there.
That's right, Mr. Holmes. Well, Bruma seems to be all right after drinking that champagne, so it'll be safe for us to have some now. Champagne umlog, Kedor?
Botace memside.
Oh, I've been burning with curiosity to know why you gave him a glass of champagne a few minutes ago, and yet we didn't have any.
Well, surely that's obvious, Watson. Fruma is the official poison taster, isn't he, madam?
That's right, Mr. Holmes. He tastes everything I eat or drink before I do. And if it doesn't affect him, then I know it's safe. Berta brought him over to England when he came to fetch me. On the island of Kavarati, poisoning's quite an hobby, you know.
There were two people in the smoking room tonight who seemed to know quite a lot about your island. The ship's doctor, a rather garrulous gentleman by the name of Harris, and Sir Christopher Wyatt, who owns tea plantations on the island. Do you know either of them, madam?
I should say I do, both of them. Dr. Harris isn't any good. He was on the island for a bit, but he got into some kind of trouble, and my husband had him thrown out.
And how about Sir Christopher Wyatt?
Oh, Chris is all right. I saw quite a bit of him in London after my husband's death. As a matter of fact, well, if I weren't going back to Kavarati, I don't think he'd be on the boat at all. He hasn't been there for over 5 years, ever since he had a row with my husband over the wages he paid the native labor.
It seemed to me that several people aboard this boat have a personal interest in the island of Kavarati. Interests that might be influenced by your death.
Yes, just what I was going to say, madam. I think we should keep an eye on you.
Oh, that's just what I was hoping you'd say, Doctor. You see, I'm giving a bit of a supper party tonight. All the people we've been talking about have been invited. And I thought if you two were to be here, perhaps you'd be on the lookout for any funny business. How about it?
Well, of course we'll come, won't we, Holmes?
I think it might be a good idea, though I would suggest that we retain our incognitos as Mr. Hamish and Mr. Mycroft.
Well, whatever you say, Mr. Holmes. And now, let's have that champagne.
You know, Holmes, I remember the Ranee when she was in the chorus at Daly's. She looked stunning in tights. There was one night I
Yes,
took
no
her out
time,
to
old
dinner
chap,
and
if you don't mind. At the moment, there's a question I want to ask you.
Oh, sir?
Is your medical bag fully equipped with all the antidotes to poison?
Poison? It's ridiculous. How could the Ranee be poisoned when she has a poison taster?
My dear Watson, you mustn't...
What the blazes is
Come on, Watson. That cry came from the companionway.
There are two figures struggling by the rail there.
Good heavens! One of them has pushed the other down the companionway.
Good Lord. His skull smashed in. I'm afraid that he...
What's happened?
Sir Christopher Wyatt. What are you doing here?
I was taking a stroll. I heard a yell from this direction and came here as fast as I could. Great Scott, this fellow's bleeding badly. We must get the ship's doctor at once.
That's hardly necessary, I fear, Sir Christopher.
What do you mean?
In the first place, this man is dead. In the second place, he is the ship's doctor.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm just going to ask you to do one thing for me. Well, I should say for yourself. Tomorrow night, if you're having meat or any meat dish for dinner, why not open up a bottle of Petri California Burgundy? That wonderful, rich, red Petri Burgundy will turn your dinner into a real feast. You see if it doesn't. Because there's nothing like a good wine with good food. And I know your family gets good food, and I know that Petri Burgundy is a good wine. In fact, it's a perfect mealtime wine. Try it and see. And now, Dr. Watson, tell us what happened next. You said you found the ship's doctor dead at the foot of the companionway?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. His neck had been broken instantly.
Imagine there was a good deal of excitement aboard.
No, my boy, as a matter of fact, there wasn't. We managed to get the body back to its cabin without attracting attention. Holmes, after revealing his true identity, was able to persuade the captain to hush up the killing until after the Ranee's party had taken place.
Oh, he didn't want to scare the murderer, I guess. What happened next, Doctor?
Holmes and I returned to our cabin to dress for the party. Holmes, I remember, was in a state of suppressed excitement. He spoke quietly and deliberately.
Watson, surely it's obvious why the doctor was murdered.
Oh, it isn't obvious to me.
It's elementary, my dear fellow. If you are planning a subtle murder by poison, how wise to remove the one man who might save the victim's life, a doctor.
Oh, you keep harping on poisoning. It seems to me that to be the last way a murderer would try to dispose of the Ranee. Everything she touches is first tested by the poison tester.
Exactly. That's why I call it a subtle murder attempt. Didn't you notice the physical attributes of Frumer, the poison tester?
Which in particular,
Well, his
Holmes?
unusually glossy hair, his remarkably clear complexion, his plump figure. Look here. Just tell me one thing, will you?
What's that?
I presume that in your medical bag you have a supply of magnesia.
Naturally.
Do you also have hydrated ferric oxide?
Yes, I do.
Splendid. Let's be off to the party.
Oh, funny things to take to a party, I must say.
That's true, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid that this party may not prove as convivial as the Ranee thinks.
Holmes, it's nearly 1 in the morning. Everything seems to be going splendidly.
It seems to be, Watson, but keep your eyes on the Ranee.
Yes, I have been. The poison testers tested everything that passed her lips. We Dot and Doris to you, Sir Christopher. You having a good time?
Yes, indeed, thank you, Mr. Hamish. How about you, Mr. Mycroft?
Oh, the Ranee's a perfect hostess. Who could help having a good time?
I don't think that girl Regina should be here, though. I don't want to be pompous, but after all, she's only a glorified servant.
Possibly the laws of etiquette are not so strict in Kavarati as they are in London, Sir Christopher.
Oh, perhaps you're right. But I don't trust the girl. There's something shifty about her. I've told the Ranee more than once. Oh, well, I suppose it's none of my business. I think I'll try and persuade the Ranee to sing us one of her old songs.
He doesn't trust Raduna, and I don't trust him. I don't think it was an accident that we found him near the body of Dr. Harris.
Here comes Vera.
I trust you gentlemen are enjoying yourselves.
Very much, Mr. Vera, thank you. I imagine you must be excited at the prospect of returning to Karavati.
I am, Mr. Mycroft. Though I only left it 3 months ago, it has seemed more like 3 years.
Do you ken what time we'll arrive there?
I am told that we shall be there in 5 hours, Mr. Hamish.
Oh, look. The Ranee's at the piano. She must be going to give us a tune.
Yes. Let's move a little closer, shall we?
Chris here has asked me to sing something. Yeah, my voice isn't what it used to be, and don't I know it. But me spirit's the same, and that's enough to put a number over. So, hold tight, boys. Here we go. My sweetheart's the man in the moon. I'm going to marry him soon. 'Twould fill me with bliss just to give him one kiss, but I know that a dozen I never would miss. I'll go up in a great big... Oh.
Great Scott, she...
Quick, Watson, your medical bag. I'll lock the door.
Right, your Holmes.
Bring some water, please. Help me. Oh, please, help me.
What is the matter?
Don't be frightened, madam. I'll take care of you.
Thirsty. Give me water. Oh, such pain.
All the symptoms of arsenic poisoning. Now I know why Holmes asked me if I had any magnesia and ferric oxide.
Do something for me, Doctor. I'm dying.
Don't worry, Your Highness. You're not going to die. She's going to live, Holmes. Ah, gracious me, I'm tired. It's touch and go there for a while, though.
Well done, Watson, old chap. Well done.
Now that she's out of danger, why can't we all go back to our cabins? It's nearly dawn, and we've been locked in here since 1 o'clock. We've no right to do this, you know.
Possibly not, Sir Christopher, but there's a murderer in this cabin, and I don't intend to let him escape.
Mr. Holmes, what happened? How could I have been poisoned when Frumer tasted everything first? Why wasn't he poisoned?
For a very simple reason, Your Highness. The murderer has been conditioning Frumer for over a year.
What do you mean?
He's been feeding him gradually increasing doses of arsenic until he has finally become immune to the poison.
Great Scott, I never thought of that.
Frumer's glossy hair, his complexion, and stout figure are all typical of a person who consumes arsenic regularly.
But who could have done it?
Only one person had the opportunity.
Well, tell us who that person is.
No, not you, Sir Christopher, not you. For you haven't been on the island for years, whereas Frumer returned from Karavati but 3 months ago. Raduna has also been in London with her mistress for the past 18 months, remember? The answer is obvious.
You did it, Verda. You brought the taster over when you came to fetch me. You'd prepared him for the year beforehand.
Of course I did. No white Ranee will ever rule over Kavarati.
And you murdered Dr. Harris.
Equally true. Mr. Holmes, give me the key to the door, please. Oh, no.
What?
Do not come near me.
Oh.
Please throw it on the floor. Do not hesitate. You see this revolver? I should have no compunction in using it, I assure you.
How do you expect to escape, Vera?
The key, please. Thank you.
You'll never get away with this, Verda, you devil.
But I shall. We are now in the harbor of Kavarati. I shall swim ashore and arrange your welcome, my dear Ranee. Turn your backs, please. Turn them. Thank you. Goodbye.
He's gone.
Come on, Watson. After him. You have your revolver, Watson?
Yes, but I didn't get a chance to draw it. He had me covered.
Well, draw it now, old fellow. Aim for a leg or an arm and don't hesitate to shoot.
There he is, up on the lifeboat. He's climbing up on the rail.
Where is he? Where did he go?
Out there on the rail above us, madam. He's going to dive.
Give me that revolver, Dr. Watson, quick. That's it. Come down off there, Verger.
Fools! Meddlers! Keep out of my affairs!
There he goes. He's dived.
Madam, you shot to kill.
Of course I did, Mr. Holmes. Remember that we're now in Kavarati waters, and that though I may not look like it at the moment, I am still the Ranee of Kavarati.
Say, that was a swell story, Doctor. It had a lot of color and quite a bit of action.
Color, a bit of action. Well, I'm glad you liked it, my boy.
Oh, I did. Say, that's not a bad idea. I mean, having someone taste everything before you eat it.
Oh, it's a very old idea, very old. Very common, too, years ago.
You know the kind of job I'd like?
No, what's that?
I'd like to be the official taster for the Petrie family. Boy, just think of all the Petrie wine I'd get to taste. Petrie to the right of me, Petrie to the left of me. What a life. What wine?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having that job myself.
You said it. The Petrie family, really knows how to make good wine. They've been making wine for generations. And because they've always owned and operated their own business ever since it was started way back in the 1800s, well, the Petrie family has sure piled up plenty of skill and experience. Yes, they've been handing down in the family from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious grapes into delicious wine. That's why you can't go wrong with any Petrie wine. It must be good, because Petrie took time to bring you good wine. Well, Doctor, what new story do you have lined up for us next week?
Next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you an adventure that Sherlock Holmes and I had many years ago. It concerns a series of bonfires, an underground cellar full of gunpowder, and a strange death on the rooftops of London.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Mazarin Stone. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petrie Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petrie family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System. From the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petrie Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petrie family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invites you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his good friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And if you ask me, the best way to listen to that story is to do it with a glass of port wine right handy. Petrie, California port. No kidding, that Petrie port is just swell for any time good friends get together to talk things over. You couldn't ask for a more delicious wine. Why, just looking at the deep, rich red color of that Petrie port tells you that here's a wine with a flavor that comes right from the heart of sun-ripened grapes. If you haven't ever tried Petrie port, why not get a bottle and have a glass after dinner tomorrow night? It's a perfect after-dinner wine, you know. And share that port with your family and your friends. And don't forget, when you serve Petri Port, you can serve it proudly. Because after all, the name Petri is the proudest name in the history of American wines. And now let's keep our weekly appointment. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Draw up a chair.
Thank you.
That's it. By the way, do you know what date it is?
November 5th, isn't it?
That's right. In England, it's known as Guy Fawkes Day. Have you ever heard of it?
It's something to do with a gunpowder plot, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Bartell, it is. And as Sherlock Holmes and I had a very unusual adventure on the 5th of November many years ago, it seems appropriate that I should tell you about it tonight. Before I begin, I think it might help you to appreciate the true flavor of the story if I tell you a little about the origin and the customs of Guy Fawkes Day.
It's a swell idea, Dr. Watson.
Well, my boy, on November the 5th, 1605, exactly 340 years ago today, King James I was about to attend the opening of Parliament when a plot was discovered to blow up the House of Lords during the ceremony.
And the chief conspirator was Guy Fawkes, I suppose?
Yes, he was. He was captured in a vault immediately below the House of Lords, a vault full of barrels of gunpowder. Of course, he and his fellow conspirators were executed. And ever since then, November the 5th has been known as Guy Fawkes Day.
Well, how's it celebrated, Doctor?
Well, it's a great time for the youngsters, Mr. Bartell. They black their faces, throng the streets, begging for pennies, and build bonfires in which to burn effigies of Guy Fawkes. These effigies are life-size dummies, stuffed with straw and dressed in old clothes. The children parade them in the streets chanting rhymes. Well, now, let me see. Pleased to remember the 5th of November. Guy Fawkes Guy, hit him in the eye.
The kids must have quite a time. Sort of like Halloween, huh, Doctor?
Yes, not unlike it, my boy. Well, now that I've told you something about the customs of Guy Fawkes Day, I'll get on with my story. It began just before lunch, I remember, on November the 5th, 1899. The day was foggy and cold, and Holmes and I were seated each side of a blazing fire in our Baker Street rooms. From outside, we could hear the sound of voices laughing and singing. Suddenly, Holmes rose and crossed to the window, opened it, and looked out. Then he turned to me and spoke.
Children having a great time, Watson, aren't they?
Yes, it cost me a shilling worth of pennies to walk here this morning.
Has it occurred to you, Watson, that the gunpowder plot offers very promising material to the speculative mind?
In what way, Holmes? I say it's confoundedly chilly in here. Don't you think you might shut that window?
Sorry, old chap. As I was saying, the gunpowder plot offers very promising material to the speculative mind. I've made something of a study of the historical records of the case. There is more than a little evidence to suggest that King James was never in any real danger.
Never in any danger? Well, what makes you say that?
Knowledge of the proposed dastardly scheme came to light early. But James Stuart, King of England, the possessor of a shrewd and diabolical mind, used the spectacular discovery of the plot to try and bolster his waning popularity, as well as to justify increased religious persecutions.
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, Holmes.
I dare say, old fellow, but it's true just the same. I'm afraid James Stuart, King of England, was an unscrupulous tyrant. Come in. Oh, yes, Mrs. Hudson?
There is a gentleman to see you, Mr. Holmes. He said it was very important, and he asked me to give you his card.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hudson. Oh, ask him to come up, please, will you?
Aye, sir.
Who is it, Holmes?
A gentleman with a remarkably fine sense of timing. Read his card for yourself.
Let's have a look. Mr. James Stuart. Great Scott, that's an extraordinary coincidence that he should arrive just as we're talking about James Stuart, King of England.
Come in.
Mr. James Stuart.
How do you do, Mr. Stuart? My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my colleague, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir? How do you do?
Mr. Holmes, you've got to help me. I'm walking about in mortal fear of my life. You've got to help me.
Mr. Stuart, I suggest that you sit down. I'll do anything in my power to help you, but you must compose yourself first and tell me quietly what it is that's frightening you.
How can I compose myself when I may be dead within a few hours?
No, Mr. Stuart. I'm a doctor. I really think if I were to give you a sedative that you'd find...
How can you talk of sedatives when My heart. Doctor. My heart.
All right. Now, here, let me help you into this sofa. There you are now.
Imagine
That's
that brandy
it.
would be in order, Watson.
Yes, Holmes, and I'll give him some digitalis. A fellow with a bad heart like this shouldn't allow himself to get so excited.
Here you are, Mr. Stuart. Drink this.
That's it. And now this, Mr. Stewart.
What is it?
It's digitalis.
Very well.
Yeah, now. Feel better, sir?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Yes, I do. You're right. I shouldn't get so excited. My heart can't stand it, you know.
Watson, is he well enough to talk, do you think?
Yes, if he doesn't excite himself again.
I'll be careful, Doctor. I'll take it quietly. Mr. Holmes, when you saw my card just now, did it strike any responsive chord?
Oh, naturally, sir. Who could fail to be intrigued when a James Stewart calls to see one on Guy Fawkes Day?
It isn't just coincidence that my name is James Stewart. I've got royal blood in my veins. People know of it. And that's another reason they're out to kill me. They're jealous of my heritage. Every instinct I have is a royal one. Now, you gentlemen know that falconry is a king's sport. And my greatest hobby is the breeding and the training of falcons.
Stewart, please, Mr. Stewart. Owing to the state of your health, I suggest that you be as economical as possible in your explanation. In fact, I think it might be better if I were to question you.
Very well, Mr. Holmes.
Now, you say that your life is in danger. What evidence do you have to substantiate that claim?
My cousin, Guy Falconby, has threatened it. You see, Mr. Holmes, he and I are the only heirs to a wealthy uncle. His fortune will go to the surviving heir. If I were dead, Guy would inherit everythth
Seems to me, Mr. Stewart, that you should have applied to Scotland Yard for protection.
I did, Dr. Watson. Only a few days ago I saw a certain Inspector Lestrade, I think his name was, and he laughed at my fears.
Oh, Lestrade. And he laughed, did he? Well, then in that case, there may be something in your story, sir. You say that your cousin has threatened to kill you. Has he indicated the method he intends to employ?
He has, and it's a devilish plot. Guy has a bitter, twisted sense of humor, gentlemen, even when he's planning as dastardly a thing as a murder. I am James Stewart. He is Guy Falconby, which is near enough to Guy Fawkes. Today is the 5th of November, and he's planning to blow me up.
Oh, come, sir. You can't expect us to believe that.
But it's true. He warned me. And the celebrations that are going on in the streets of London today would make a rare cloak for his activities.
I must confess, Mr. Stewart, that I find your story most unconvincing. All your evidence appears to depend on conversations held between you and this cousin of yours. You have no facts, sir, to substantiate your claims.
But I have.
Then please let us hear them.
I live at 23 Cavendish Square. A week ago, the house next door to me was let to a new tenant. Almost immediately, workmen became very active there. They were digging in the cellars, Mr. Holmes. I could hear the sounds of picks and shovels through the walls.
Digging in the cellars? That does sound significant, doesn't it, Holmes?
Extremely. Did you observe any other activities of the workmen, Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Holmes. Vans have been delivering large packing cases to the basement during the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's in them, too. It's gunpowder. I tell you, they're planning to blow me up today.
No. Steady. You mustn't excite yourself again.
What shall I do, Mr. Holmes?
I think, sir, it would be better for you to rest here for a while and then go to a nearby hotel. I would suggest the Shaftesbury. And wait there until you hear from us.
And where are you gentlemen going?
Watson and I, after donning suitable disguises, will visit the house adjoining yours in Cavendish Square. I think an examination of the cellar there might prove most illuminating.
This must be the house, all right, Holmes. The empty packing cases are still by the foot of the basement steps.
Come on, Watson. Let's go down and explore.
Pardon my soul, I feel a little self-conscious in these clothes.
No need to, my dear chap. You look a most authentic inspector of plumbing.
Well,
If anyone challenges us, you'd better let me do the talking, though. I think my accent might be a little more convincing. Shh. Listen.
I can't hear anything.
Exactly. Then we may reasonably assume that either the workmen are observing the Guy Fawkes holiday or that their work is done. Come on, let's try this door.
It's unlocked.
Yes. Huh. This is too easy, Watson. We must be prepared for a trap. Come on.
I've got my revolver handy if there's any trouble.
I don't use it until I tell you to. Remember, we're supposed to be plumbing inspectors.
It's pitch black in here. I can't see a thing.
Strike a match. See if you can find a gas jet.
Strike a match when the cellar may be full of gunpowder?
Can't take the risk, old chap.
Oh, here's a gas jet. I'll light it. That's better. Now we can see a little.
Uh-huh. I think the workmen have completed their job. See that new wood forming a crude door in the corner over there?
Where does it lead to, do you suppose?
Let's find out. Oh, also unlocked. And here's a miner's lantern, waiting conveniently for us on this ledge. Oh, this is ridiculously easy. Now I'm sure it's a trap.
I like the lantern. Great Scott, it's a tunnel.
Yes, it's a tunnel leading into Mr. Stewart's house next door. Let's explore it.
Look, Holmes. Look at the barrels. I bet they're full of gunpowder.
Undoubtedly. We'll observe the fuses as well. Yes, the complete equipment for another gunpowder plot.
I can't believe my eyes. What a fantastic plan, but how could the murderer be certain that Stewart would be killed in the explosion?
I think that's easily answered, Watson. Remember Mr. Stewart's bad heart? In his present state of apprehension, an exploding firecracker would be enough to kill him.
Oh, I suppose so. Hello? Hello? What's this lying on the floor? Curious. It's a funny strip of silk with a little ring on the end.
Let me see it, Watson. Aha. This seems to be familiar. By Jove! I believe it's a Jess.
A Jess? What nurse said?
The last piece of evidence necessary to confirm the conclusion...
Come out of there! And keep your hands above your heads! I've got a revolver!
Right, you Governor. We ain't doing no harm. Now, remember, Watson, I'll do the talking.
Come on! Archer, come! Well, well, you're a comical-looking pair. What are you doing in there?
Me and my mate got a message to come over here and see to the plumbing, mister.
Plumbers, eh? Have any identification?
Yes, sir. Here's my badge. We're inspectors for the London County Council.
Oh, that's all right, my man. I saw the basement door open, and I thought burglars might be here.
You're the owner of this house, sir?
Yes, but my agent let it recently to some tenants who've been behaving rather queerly, I'm told. So I came round here to see what was happening.
If you're the owner, sir, perhaps you can give me some facts for me records. I film me records, you know.
What do you want to know?
Well, your name, please, sir.
Falconby. Guy Falconby.
Look here.
Alfie, hold your nose.
What did he say?
Nothing, sir, nothing. He's got bad hiccups. I've had him for months now. Can't stop him. Alfie, here, give me a pencil, will you? Thank you, Al. Now, sir, your name is Guy Falconby. What's the name of the tenant this house is let to?
There are three of them.
Oh, do you know the name, sir? Got to have them for me records, you see.
Yes, the names are Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes.
Oh, yes. Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes. That's right, sir. Sounds as if there might be a firm of solicitors, don't they, sir?
Well, perhaps they are. I haven't met them.
Just one more question, sir, and then I needn't bother you no more.
Well, what is it? My religion or my grandmother's maiden name?
No, sir. No, nothing like that. I just wondered who lived in the house next door on that side. We've had a complaint from there, too. Their pipes is bunged up.
My cousin lives there. His name's James Stewart.
Mr. James Stewart, eh? I'm much obliged, sir. Me and my mate will be going next door. Come on, Alfie.
I'm not surprised his pipes are bunged up, as you so graphically put it. He's a great one for practical jokes about the house. As a matter of fact, he's planning one of them tonight. Well, that's no concern of yours. By the way, my man, what's your name?
Nivet, sir. Tom Nivet. Come on, Alfie. We got work to do.
Holmes, I wish you'd tell me what's going on. Why have we taken this cab back to Baker Street?
Get out of these clothes. They've served their purpose. Now there's more serious work afoot.
Well, I'm still confused about our interview with Guy Falconby. Why did you say your name was Tom Nivet?
More touch of vanity, old fellow.
Vanity? How do you mean?
Well, consider the names in this case so far, Watson. James Stewart says that he's been threatened by Guy Falconby. A name, as Mr. Stewart points out, not unlike Guy Fawkes. Do you recall the names of the three tenants that Mr. Falconby gave us a few minutes ago?
Yes. Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes. But what's that got to do with it?
A great deal, my dear fellow. Thomas Winter, Ambrose Rokewood, and Robert Keynes were the three men executed with Guy Fawkes in the original Gunpowder Plot in 1605.
Good Lord. Where does Tom Nivet, the name you gave yourself, fit into the picture?
Thomas Nivet was the Westminster magistrate who arrested the conspirators. Since the would-be murderer has such an academic knowledge of the original plot, I thought I'd let him know that he was up against an opponent worthy of his skill.
hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a few seconds. Just about time for me to remind you that if you want a wine that's sure to please the ladies, you can't mix with Petri California Muscatel. That's because Petri Muscatel is a golden wine with one of the most luscious flavors you ever tasted. Did you ever taste a big, plump Muscat grape that's ripened in the sun? If you have, then you know what to expect when you taste Petri Muscatel. It's a wonderful wine. Perfect after dinner and swell when company comes. Just remember that, won't you? Petri Muscatel. Well, Doctor, you and Mr. Holmes were certainly having yourselves quite a Guy Fawkes day. What happened when you got back to Baker Street?
We quickly changed out of our disguises and back into our ordinary clothes. I was still pretty much in the dark, as usual. And I kept questioning Holmes as to our next move. He was in a state of suppressed excitement. And it was obvious as he spoke to me that he was anxious to be off.
What's dawdle? There's so much work ahead of us.
What do you mean, don't dawdle? I'm not dawdling. I'm dressing as fast as I can. What's our next move, anyway?
Well, we must split our forces. Let's get hold of my band of street urchins, the Baker Street Irregulars. I'm going to surround Mr. Stewart's house in Cavendish Square, and they'll be invaluable for that purpose.
So what do you want me to do?
Go to the Canterbury Hotel and collect Mr. Stewart, then return with him to his house and wait me there. I shall join you as soon as I've rounded up the irregulars, but I must warn you. Don't leave Mr. Stewart for a moment. Don't let him out of your sight until you see me again.
Of course I won't, Holmes, but, I must say, the idea of all that gunpowder in the cellar doesn't make me feel any too happy.
Have faith in me, old chap. Have faith in me. You know, I wouldn't expose you to any danger if I could avoid it. And I assure you that I shall join you and Mr. Stewart very shortly. You have your revolver?
Yes, of course.
Good. And, give Mr. Stewart this revolver, will you? Tell him that I insist that he carries it. I fear that his own has probably been tampered with.
Right you are, Holmes. I'll see that he has it. This is a strange business, I must say. That Guy Fawkes seemed such a decent sort of fellow.
Yes, he appeared to be a most amiable fellow, didn't he? This is indeed an unusual case, Watson. We're up against one of the most sinister and twisted antagonists that we've ever met. Well, old chap, I'm leaving now. I'll join you soon. And don't forget, stay close to Mr. Stewart. Stay very close to him.
Dr. Watson, I wish your friend were here.
No, don't get so excited, Mr. Stewart. He'll be here any moment now. You've still got the revolver that I gave you?
Yes, it's in my pocket. But what's the good of a revolver if there should be an explosion? Answer me that if you can.
No, you must have faith in Mr. Holmes, sir. He's arranging now to have this house of yours surrounded by his band of street urchins. They'll see that no one gets to the cellar next door to light the fuses.
A bunch of children. How can they do anything?
You don't know the Baker Street irregulars, Mr. Stewart. And it's a perfect day for them to operate. As black-faced boys begging for pennies, they'd pass unnoticed anywhere.
I hope you're right. But I have a premonition, Doctor. There's going to be a tragedy. I know it.
Now, take it easy, sir. Remember your heart. You're in splendid hands when Sherlock Holmes is on the case. Here he is now. Holmes, I say, I'm glad to see you.
You received your visitor yet?
Visitor? We've seen no one.
Then be on the alert. I've just been questioning the boys surrounding this house. A few moments ago, some children pulled a small cart up to the back door. A cart containing a life-size dummy. My irregulars thought that it was an effigy on its way to a bonfire.
Why shouldn't it be, Holmes?
I have reason to believe that it's someone visiting you in disguise, Mr. Stewart. A visitor who is mounting the back stairs at this very moment.
You've got to stand by me, Holmes. You've got to protect me.
Don't worry, sir. Come in.
Look at that apparition.
Great Scott, Guy Fawkes, damn it. A dark lantern in his hand, and it's walking.
And also talking, I trust.
Keep away from me. I got a revolver.
Take for sake, for Victoria's sake. If you won't give me one, I'll take two. The better for me and the worse for you.
It's Guy Fawkes.
Keep away from me, do you hear?
The better for me and the worse for you.
All right, then. I'm going to fire.
Dear me, Mr. Stewart, the revolver I've provided for you seems to be unloaded. How very odd.
Well, what in thunder is all this about?
You've just witnessed an attempted murder, Watson.
Murder? What are you talking about? This is a game. James and I had it arranged, the whole thing.
You may have thought it was a game, Mr. Falconby, but I assure you that your... Grab Mr. Stewart, Watson. He seems to be leading us.
Leave me alone. Take your hands off me. My heart.
Help me put him on the sofa. That's it. I'll get him some digitalis.
Look, I don't want to appear unnecessarily stupid, but will someone tell me what this is all about?
With pleasure, Mr. Falconby. Your cousin had planned one of the most fantastic murder plots that I've ever encountered.
He came to us with the story that you had threatened his life.
But that's ridiculous. I'm very fond of him.
Of course it's ridiculous. The whole plot was ridiculous. He leased the house next door, had a tunnel dug, and gunpowder and fuses planted there. Even entered the name of the tenants as Winter, Rokewood, and Keynes, to give the apparent plot a further authenticity.
You mean my cousin was the real tenant?
Certainly he was. However, he was clumsy enough to drop that piece of silk with the wire ring on the end that you found in the cellar, Watson.
The thing you called a jess.
And what's a jess?
It's a strap that goes round a falcon's leg to which its leash is fastened. You will remember that Mr. Stewart informed us that falconry is his hobby, and it therefore indicated that he had been in the cellar and consequently must have known about the whole plot.
And all he was trying to do was to build up in our minds the belief that his cousin was trying to kill him.
Exactly, my dear fellow. Had we believed him, of course he could have shot you just now, Mr. Falconby, in apparent self-defense.
Good Lord, what a fantastic plot. I still can't quite believe
Mr. Falconby, why are you dressed as a Guy Fawkes dummy?
Well, it was James's idea. He said that he was going to dress up too, and that we were to go round the bonfires tonight and frighten people by appearing as live dummies. But the last message he sent told me to come up here, that we'd play a practical joke on a couple of friends of his.
And did he provide you with the costume that you're wearing?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he did.
Have you searched the pockets for any weapons?
No, but I will.
All right, and while you're doing that, I'll examine this dark lantern. How's your patient, Watson?
Well, I've given him some digitalis, and now I'll get him some brandy.
I can't find anything in the pockets.
Here's the answer, my friends. Look here. Inside the lantern is a dagger. Your cousin planted it there to substantiate the claim that you were trying to kill him. Had his plans worked, you would have been dead, Mr. Falconby, before you could have told us the truth.
Here, come back here, Mr. Stewart.
James! He slipped out of the door.
Found it. He's faking the heart attack. Come on, Watson, after him.
Holmes, where are you? Out of the way, please.
Blimey. Here comes the Lord Mayor of London, chums.
Excuse me, please. I'm trying to find a friend of mine. Most important. Holmes, where are you? Get out here, Watson.
I hear you calling me.
Out of the way, please. I'm coming, Holmes. You got away from me in the crowd.
Mr. Stewart got away from us.
Well, we'll never find him in this mark.
Too old fellow. He's a dangerous man. There's no knowing what he may do. Where are the irregulars? There's Wiggins.
Wiggins?
Hello, Mr. Evans.
Wiggins.
Watson.
Did you see a man run out of that house a few minutes ago?
No, Governor. Perhaps Charlie did. Hey, Charlie, come over here a minute. It's Mr. Holmes. All right. I bet Charlie didn't see anything, though. He's got some stuffy girl with him.
Hello, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie.
Did you see a man run through this crowd a few minutes ago? A tallish man with a gray moustache?
Yes, I did. A man came running out of the house over there.
That's the house. Where'd he go?
He ran down toward where the shops are.
And he stole our dummy, did?
The one we are going to burn in a bonfire. I tried to stop him, but he got away.
Holmes, look up there on the roof. There's a figure. Joe, I believe it's James Stewart.
That's the man. He's the one that stole our dummy.
He's standing up on the roof. He's going to jump.
If he does, he's going to land in the bonfire.
There he goes. He is jumping. Right into the middle of the fire.
It's awful. He'll be burned to death.
Don't worry, Wiggins. That wasn't a man who fell into the bonfire.
What do you mean?
From the gyrations that the figure performed as it fell, my dear Watson, I'm convinced that Mr. Stewart threw the stolen dummy to try and put us off the track.
Then Stewart's still up there.
He is, Watson. Come on, old boy. It's up on the rooftops for us. Up on the rooftops. Here, Watson. Let me help you up. Can you reach my hand?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, then. Up you come. Come on. That's it.
Sure. Seems to me that fire escapes must be designed for giants.
Keep your eyes skinned, old fellow. Stewart's a dangerous man. Might be hiding behind those chimney stacks. Come on.
Upon my soul, this is a strange place to be on Guy Fawkes night.
Yes, a comprehensive case, Watson. Starts in a cellar and ends on a rooftop.
Look, Holmes. By the parapet there.
The crumpled body of Mr. Stewart.
Looks to me as if it... Yes. He's dead, Holmes.
Well, it's not surprising. The effort of carrying the dummy up here and throwing it, combined with his own state of excitement, were too much for him. Well, frankly, I can't say that I'm sorry.
No, he planned a murder. If it hadn't been for you, he would have succeeded. An extraordinary case, Holmes.
Yes, old chap, and one that should long make us remember the 5th of November.
By Jove, yes.
Please to remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgotten.
Well, Doctor, as you boys would say, that story was a bit of exciting, what?
Yes, and even now I sort of lose my breath when I remember climbing that fire escape.
You know, Doctor, those two fellas certainly went out of their way to celebrate Guy Fawkes' Day. Now, take me. When I got a little celebrating to do, I like to do it quietly. Some friends, a glass of port.
Yeah, Petri port, of course.
What else?
Leave it to you. No matter what the occasion is, you can somehow make it a perfect occasion for Petri wine. How'd you do it, old fella?
Don't ask me how I do it. You mean, how does the Petri family do it? How can they make such swell wine? Well, the answer is experience. The Petri family has been making fine wine for generations. And ever since they first established the Petri business way back in the 1800s, they've handed on down from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened California grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. That's why when you want a wine for any occasion, before dinner, with your meals, or after dinner, you can't go wrong with a Petri wine, because Petri took time to bring you good wine. And now, Dr. Watson, what Sherlock Holmes adventure are you going to tell us next week?
An old favorite, Mr. Bartell, a story that concerns strange music that was heard in a lonely house in the English countryside, and of the living death that stalked there. I call it The Adventure of the Speckled Bairn.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Devil's Foot. Music was by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Would you like a shout-out? Leave a comment in the section below. Tell me who you want to shout out to, who you want to shout out from, and we'll get it up here for you. Hey, we want to say thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any. You got a lot more of these up there. Go check them out under the playlist. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you want to see, what you think, and we'll see you next time.